an autumn evening in New York City, Lily Walker, a young girl full of dreams and passion, was preparing to leave her workplace after a long, stressful day. She stepped into the elevator, glancing at the large mirror in the corner of the room. A brief glance at the mirror, but something strange happened. In the moment she looked into the mirror, Lily noticed that her reflection didn't match what she expected. Instead of a tired girl, the mirror reflected another Lily, one who looked happy and vibrant, as if she were living a completely different life. Lily was stunned, stepping out of the elevator and looking back at the mirror. The strange feeling lingered with Lily, and she began to wonder if she was just too tired, or if something else was happening. That night, she couldn't sleep, the image of the girl in the mirror swirling in her mind. She felt as if she had glimpsed a part of her life she had never known. A few days later, Lily couldn't stop thinking about that strange mirror. She decided to return to her workplace, to check again if she had imagined everything. As she stepped into the elevator again, her eyes were drawn to the mirror, and this time, things got even stranger. When she looked into the mirror again, Lily not only saw her reflection in her current life, but also saw herself in a different house, with a different job, and a completely different life. Lily felt dizzy, unable to understand what was happening. She decided to search for answers, and Lily began researching parallel mirror phenomena. She found stories about people who had experienced similar strange events, where they looked into mirrors and saw themselves living completely different lives. One day, when Lily stood in front of the mirror in her living room, she decided to try again. She dared to look into the mirror once more, and this time, not only did she see herself living a different life, but she could also communicate with her reflection in the mirror. Her reflection in the mirror began to speak to Lily about her life in the parallel world, about things she had never known. "You will have to choose," her reflection said. "Will you live in this world or in the other one?" Lily couldn't make a decision immediately. She felt torn between two worlds, between a life she had lived and a life she had never dared to dream of. But one thing she knew for sure: the mirror was not just an ordinary object. It was a doorway, leading to another world. Lily couldn't stop thinking about the words of her reflection. "Will you live in this world or in the other one?" She felt as if she was standing at a crossroads, unsure of what to do. Her current life wasn't perfect, but it was all she knew. The life in the mirror. She knew nothing about it, but it seemed full of promise, a life she had never dared to dream of. Lily began to experiment with the mirror. She stood in front of it longer, trying to understand more about the world inside it. Every time she looked, she saw herself in different situations. She was a successful woman, living in a spacious house, surrounded by wonderful friends, and a job she loved. That world was perfect, like a dream that she couldn't believe could become reality. One night, Lily decided to try stepping through the mirror. She looked into the mirror one last time and approached it to test the truth. She reached out and touched the cold glass. Suddenly, she felt a strong pull drawing her into the mirror. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer standing in her room, but in a completely different place, in a space that was bright and warm. Lily found herself in a room that looked like the one in the mirror, but the feeling of the space here was entirely different. She looked around and saw familiar objects. but they had slight differences, as if they were replicas, but more vibrant, as if they were created from a parallel world. She knew she had crossed the boundary between two worlds. However, as Lily ventured deeper into this new world, she began to sense a shift. Everything seemed not entirely like what she saw in the mirror. A feeling of unease rose within her, and Lily began to worry whether she had fallen into a trap she had created herself. Lily wandered through this parallel world, feeling a strange sense of unfamiliarity. The people around her seemed to recognize her, but they were not the people she knew. They looked at her with strange expressions, as if they knew something she couldn't comprehend. Lily met a woman in this world who introduced herself as Lena, a close friend in the mirrored world. Lena said that Lily had entered the parallel world, and now she couldn't go back unless she discovered the reason she was drawn here. Lena explained that the world in the mirror wasn't just a reflection of Lily's life, but a place where every decision, every choice, could create a different parallel reality. Every step Lily took in this world could change the direction of her life in both worlds. The feeling of confusion grew stronger in Lily's heart. She didn't know whether she should try to return to the real world or continue exploring this world. One big question echoed in her mind. Could she live a different, better life in this parallel world? Lena looked at Lily seriously and said, "Not everything in this world is as it seems. Every choice comes with its price. Be careful." Lily felt the tension in the air and realized that she had to decide quickly, as every moment in this world brought about significant changes. Lily sat in a small coffee shop in the parallel world, where Lena had taken her to talk about her choices. She felt as though she was trapped in a life she couldn't fully understand. Every choice she made would affect both worlds. But if she stayed, could she truly find happiness? Lena looked at Lily with understanding in her eyes. "Life is not always what you think it is," Lena said. "What you see here is not always the truth." Lily felt like she was standing at a crossroads, unable to decide whether to continue living in this world or return to her real world. Lily remembered the years she spent in the real world, when she always felt lacking, tired, and never enough. She looked at this parallel world, where everything seemed more perfect, where she felt free and accepted. Could she live a perfect life here? Or was this perfection just an illusion? Lena reached out to Lily, gently saying, "Every choice comes with a price, but the greatest cost isn't what you have to sacrifice, but what you could lose if you don't live true to yourself." These words woke Lily up. Lily felt a shift in her heart. She couldn't keep living in a fantasy. She needed to return to the real world, where there were loved ones, true values, and challenges she could face. But a part of her still felt reluctant, not wanting to leave this perfect world behind. Lily decided to step outside the coffee shop, taking a deep breath of fresh air. She felt the strangeness of this world gradually engulfing her. The images she saw seemed to fade, becoming less real. Lily could no longer continue living as a replica of herself. She returned to the place where the mirror all began. When Lily looked into the mirror one last time, she noticed a strange light streaking from within. It was a sign. She turned back and said to her reflection, "I have to go. I have to live true to myself." But just as Lily was about to return to the real world, Lena appeared once more. "You can't go back," Lena said. "If you go back, everything will change forever. You won't be able to live with that change." Lily looked at Lena, her eyes determined. Lily stood silent for a moment, thinking about everything that had happened. She couldn't live in this ambiguity forever. Her decision would change everything. But she knew she had to choose her true path. Finally, she turned back to the mirror and stepped through, returning to the real world. When Lily returned to the real world, everything was not as she had imagined. She stood before her apartment door, feeling nervous and expectant. Everything was still the same, but something felt different, as if she had changed, but the world around her had not. She stepped in and noticed that everything was still quiet. Her familiar room hadn't changed, but Lily felt that this space was no longer her home. Something felt off, as if she had lost an important part of her life. In the days that followed, Lily began to feel a deep loneliness. She no longer felt like she was living in the parallel world. But the memories of that world were hard to erase. The real world seemed too small and mundane compared to what she had experienced in the mirror. One night, as Lily sat alone in her apartment, she realized that although she had returned to the real world, she couldn't escape the feeling that she had lost a part of herself. Perhaps she couldn't return to the parallel world, but the choices she had made would remain in her mind forever. But Lily also realized an important thing. The real world, though imperfect, was where she could change everything. Every moment, every decision was an opportunity to start anew. She decided to begin again with what she had. In the following days, Lily decided to focus on starting over. She began taking art classes she had always loved, learning how to paint and sculpt, things she had never tried in her previous world. Each class brought Lily a refreshing sense. She not only rediscovered her passion for life, but also discovered abilities she had never known. Though life was not perfect, it was in these small daily efforts that she found joy she couldn't find elsewhere. One afternoon, as Lily was on her way home, she realized the most important thing she had overlooked before: the connection with herself and those around her. Life in the parallel world may have been perfect, but it lacked one crucial element: love and connection. Lily began to seek deeper connections with her family and friends. She no longer lived in the shadow of perfection, but lived true to herself. Every day, she found joy in simple moments, conversations, and moments of love. Looking back, Lily realized that returning to the real world wasn't a failure. It was a turning point in her life, helping her understand that life wasn't about a perfection without flaws, but about learning to love, connect, and accept herself. As time passed, Lily began to find peace in her life. She no longer compared herself to the image in the mirror or the experiences she had in the parallel world. The real world, though challenging, gave her a freedom she couldn't find in a perfect world. One day, while working in the art studio, Lily felt a gentle and complete peace in her soul. She knew she had found her own path. No more fear or doubt. Lily understood that every passing day was an opportunity to discover new possibilities. Lily began to open up more to friends and family. She engaged more in social activities and felt truly connected with those around her. Life was no longer a race, to find perfection, but a journey of enjoying precious moments. Once again, Lily stood in front of the mirror in her room. But this time, she looked into the mirror not to find another world, but to look at herself. And when she gazed into her own eyes, she felt proud of having overcome all the challenges and finding peace. She realized that life didn't need to be perfect. Every imperfection brought new opportunities to learn and grow. Lily no longer felt the need to live in a parallel world because she had created a wonderful world right in her own life. In the end, Lily understood that life was not a race to achieve a perfect model. Every moment in this life had value, whether it was perfect or not. She decided to live fully in each day, grateful for what she had and ready to embrace new changes. She no longer felt anxious about what could happen, no longer seeking perfection in every step. Instead, she learned to love and appreciate herself, while sharing the good things with those around her. Lily continued her journey with a new faith in herself. She knew that each path she walked would bring challenges, but she was ready to face them. Because she had learned that growth didn't come from perfection, but from the ability to face and learn from mistakes. In the end, Lily smiled as she looked toward the future. She no longer felt she had to live according to any other model but her own. She understood that life itself was a gift, and she was ready to embrace it with all that she had. Lily's life was no longer a story about perfection, but a story of freedom, exploration, and self-acceptance. And she knew that. No matter what the world was like, she could always create a beautiful life right in her own world. On a scorching summer day in Los Angeles, Emma Clark, a young woman feeling stuck in her job and personal life, entered her apartment after a long day. She sat slumped on the chair, staring blankly into the large mirror placed opposite her. She felt frustrated with the constant challenges she had to face. Suddenly, she noticed something strange. In the mirror, her reflection wasn't like reality. She saw herself dressed in different clothes, standing in a strange place with busy streets and bright neon lights. But she had never been to these places before. Emma stood up and approached the mirror, feeling an unusual force pulling her in. Though the image in the mirror wasn't her current life, it felt strangely familiar. She wondered if she was hallucinating or if there was something else at play. In that moment, the image in the mirror changed. She saw herself standing on a beach, with the sun shining through the clouds, creating a peaceful scene she had never experienced. This feeling was completely different from her busy, worrying reality. A feeling of confusion overwhelmed Emma. She turned around to look around, confirming that she was still in the familiar room, but the image in the mirror kept appearing, inviting her into a different world, a life she had never dared to dream of. Determined to uncover the truth behind the mirror, Emma decided to look into it again. This time, she realized that the reflection of herself in the mirror wasn't just a different life, but a life she had once dreamed of. She saw herself happy, confident, and not facing the struggles she was encountering in reality. The strange feeling continued. Emma couldn't take her eyes off the mirror, feeling as though it was beckoning her. She decided to try something bold. She reached out and touched the glass. Immediately, she felt a cold breeze rush through, and in that moment, she felt herself being pulled into the mirror. When Emma opened her eyes, she was no longer in her apartment. She stood on a strange street, with bright neon lights and the bustling sounds of the city echoing all around. She realized she was in a parallel world, where her dreams had come true. A feeling of happiness and freedom flooded Emma's heart, but also a deep sense of fear. She wasn't sure if this was a world she truly wanted to live in, or just an illusion. She began exploring and searching for answers, but with every step, she felt herself drifting further from the real world. Emma stopped for a moment, asking herself, "Can I live in this world? Or is it just a dream?" And in that moment, she realized that every choice came with its price. But she was no longer afraid, because she had made a clear decision in her heart. Emma stood at the crossroads in this parallel world, a sense of ambiguity filling her mind. She looked around, the streets filled with neon lights, loud sounds, and people rushing by. Everything seemed perfect. But was this where she truly belonged? She turned back to the mirror, seeing her reflection smiling happily. But she felt no peace inside. She couldn't ignore the unease in her heart. Would this world truly bring her lasting happiness? Or was it just a temporary illusion? Emma decided to seek out Lena, her friend in this parallel world, to understand more about what was happening. She found Lena at a small cafe, where she was sipping tea. Lena smiled gently when she saw Emma, but her eyes also held a hint of worry. "You must decide soon," Lena said, her voice dropping. "This world isn't everything. Wherever you are, you will have to face your choices. Perfection does not exist." Emma. Lena's words were like a cold splash of water on her emotions, but Emma wasn't ready to let go yet. Emma listened, but her heart couldn't shake the thought of the perfect life she could build here. She didn't know if she could return to the real life. But one thing was clear. She had to find the answer for herself. The following days, Emma continued to feel uncertain. Every time she looked into the mirror, she saw a different life. A life she had never imagined. Everything was perfect, but she couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't real. One evening, standing in front of the mirror, Emma decided to take a bold step. She stepped closer to the mirror again, feeling as though everything was pulling her into another space. She touched the mirror, and this time, nothing stopped her. Emma stepped through the mirror door, and once again, she found herself standing in a completely different place. But this time, she realized something strange. Everyone around her looked the same, like soulless replicas. She felt as though she was trapped in a world without freedom. A feeling of despair rose within Emma. She realized that this was not the world she wanted to live in. The perfect life she had dreamed of turned out not to be the solution. She turned back, stepping out of the parallel world, and decided to face reality. When Emma returned to the real world, she felt as though she had been reborn. Though her life wasn't perfect, she realized that it was the imperfections and challenges that made life meaningful. She began to change the way she viewed herself and what she had. Emma no longer raced after perfection. She learned to live with the small but truly important things, like friendships, family, and simple happy moments. A year later, Emma looked back at everything that had happened and smiled. She knew that this life wasn't always easy, but it was a gift she had learned to appreciate every day. She had found her own path, not a perfect one, but one she could walk freely. Even though she had decided to return to the real world, Emma couldn't shake the lingering feeling of what she had experienced in the parallel world. The images of that life, though only a dream, still haunted her in her sleep and in the quiet moments of her waking life. One day, while walking through the park, Emma ran into Lena, the friend who had helped her understand the parallel world. "You still remember everything that happened in that world, don't you?" Lena asked, her gaze soft. Emma nodded, feeling as if a part of her was still there. "I don't know if I can go back to that world," Emma said, her voice tinged with longing. "I can't shake the feeling that I lost a part of myself." Lena looked at her with understanding and gently replied, "That's something many people don't understand. When you live in a perfect world, you can't find yourself." Lena continued, "Sometimes we need to face imperfection to recognize the true value of life. Life isn't a straight path, but a series of turns that you must discover for yourself." Lena's words made Emma think deeply. Emma realized that she needed to let go of the past, not to forget, but to understand that it was the imperfections, the struggles, and the challenges that gave value to each moment in life. She decided to walk her own path, without needing perfection. In the days that followed, Emma began to rediscover her passions in work and personal life. She took art classes she had once neglected, spent time with friends and family, and most importantly, she learned to love herself. She no longer felt pressured by perfection. Her paintings weren't always perfect, but each brushstroke contained genuine emotion and freedom. Emma began to find joy in creating imperfect things that held deep meaning. One evening, as she looked at her completed paintings, Emma realized something. Though her life wasn't a perfect story, it was the experiences in the real world that held the most precious moments. She didn't need to live in a perfect world, because the real life had given her all she needed. Emma felt free and at peace in her soul. She had found her own path. Not a path without challenges, but a path she could walk with confidence and love. She knew that each day was a new opportunity to continue her journey. Life isn't always perfect, Emma told herself, but it's the imperfections that make it worth living. She turned and looked towards the future, filled with opportunities and hope. After months of self-exploration and pursuing her passions, Emma felt her life slowly shifting. She no longer felt lost. Instead, she was living a meaningful life, one where she didn't have to fit into any mold, but could simply be herself. One morning, Emma received a call from a famous artist she had admired for years. He praised her paintings and suggested collaborating on an art project. A wave of happiness and pride surged through her. She never imagined she would have this opportunity. She realized that the small efforts she had put in over the past months had led her to unexpected opportunities. Emma had begun to learn to believe in herself and was no longer afraid of new challenges. Life wasn't always easy, but it was those challenges that built her strength. The parallel world was now just a part of the past, and Emma had found herself in the place where she truly belonged. This life, with all its imperfections, had taught her valuable lessons about love, patience, and courage. Emma no longer sought after the unattainable, but instead, she lived with what she had and was always grateful for every moment in her life. She knew that the road ahead would still bring challenges, but she was ready to face them all. As time passed, Emma no longer felt trapped between choices. She realized that life was not a race to seek perfection, but a journey where every step mattered. She had changed the way she viewed life, mistakes, and failures. Every fall was an opportunity to rise and learn. She no longer felt afraid of the future. Instead, she felt confident and excited about what she would discover. Once again, Emma returned to the mirror, not to seek a perfect life, but to look at herself with all the love and acceptance she had found. She had found peace within herself and realized that this life was what she made of it. She smiled as she remembered everything that had happened. Life might not be perfect, but it was those imperfect moments that made life truly magical. And Emma knew she would keep moving forward, not for perfection, but because of her belief in herself. She looked towards the future, no longer afraid, no longer doubting. She had learned how to live fully, and that was the greatest freedom she had ever found. Life was a journey, and Emma would follow that journey with confidence and love. Each passing day, Emma grew stronger and more confident. She no longer worried about changing the world or seeking perfection in everything. She had learned that happiness came from the simple moments in life, and those were the things she cherished most. One day, at an art exhibition, Emma stood beside her artwork, looking around with satisfaction. She realized that life wasn't always about grand successes, but every achievement, no matter how small, brought genuine joy. After leaving the exhibition, Emma stepped outside, the space before her wide open, with long roads ahead. She didn't know exactly where the future would take her, but she knew she was ready for any surprises that came her way. Emma no longer looked into the mirror to search for another world or a perfect life. She knew that she was the one creating her world. Every step, every decision was part of the wonderful journey she had chosen. With a gentle smile, Emma turned away, leaving behind her worries and finding her own path. Her journey had never truly ended, but she had found peace within her own heart, and that was the most precious thing.